could turn it off probably.
It's okay.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
All right. The regular meeting of June 11th, 2013, Planning and Zoning Commission for the Borough of Petersburg will now be open. Will the clerk please call the roll call?
The clerk's not here. Do you want me to do it?
Yes, please.
Ron Bushman,
Here.
Otis Marsh,
Here.
Dave Kinsinger, Jim Demko, Donald Lobbin,
Present.
Otis, wait a minute here. Who am I missing?
Susan Thompson.
Oh, I'm sorry, Susan Thomas.
Here. And?
Yeah, I already said here.
Oh, you said
He
here.
already did.
Okay. We'll have approval of the previous meeting's minutes. If you'd like to take a minute and look over those.
I move we approve as they stand. Second.
The meetings, the agenda, sorry, we're not there yet. The previous meetings amendments have been motion has been presented to approve, and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Did you want to go downstairs and get yours?
I have an extra. Okay. Thanks. I think that's the way. There may be two of them.
And let's look at today's agenda. We need an amendment and approval for today's agenda.
I move we approve the agenda as it stands.
A second.
Okay, it has been made a motion to approve the agenda as it stands. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the approval of agenda has occurred. Public hearings. Is there anybody here for public hearings? Visitors' views related to agenda items. Visitors' views unrelated to agenda items. Going quickly. Report of staff members.
Just a brief report. I was invited over to Ellen Rokovich's house on Noseum, and she said, you probably noticed Bare Basics decided to move out. And that was the thrift store we reviewed at the last meeting. She asked them, she said they wanted more room, or maybe business wasn't substantial enough to stay there, but anyway, it appears that they've decided to move their operation to Wrangell.
That's kind of excellent, because it really wasn't a business area per se. Okay, and
Inside politics.
Oh, there they.
I stopped there to see what
What
it was. I stopped in there to see about for a walk, and they were talking about bringing in a couple trailers and things like that. And then the one lady turned to me and said, "Oh, she's the one that was the square foot." And I'm just standing there going, and I says, "I'm here as a private citizen," and she says, "Well, you would be," and I
yeah,
just went like this here. I just.
you were taking a walk. Okay.
Because I was going to bring that up. I could not see letting two trailers be there, because that was their thing they wanted to do in September, was to come back and revisit and put two trailers there. That was their plan.
What type of trailers? I mean, they come in all sizes.
They were 12 and a 14 footer,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's what they were talking about. And I just sat there and I said, I'm a private citizen. I do live across the way. I personally would not be for it, but I says I can't make a comment for.
Yeah, you say trailer, I think of
No,
53 foot.
they were talking about mobile
okay.
homes.
Oh, okay.
AML type of trailer.
Yeah.
Which is one of those situations I didn't know how to deal with, except for.
You can always refer them to me, but
Yeah, should just have Leo on speed dial and just hand the
Right.
phone over.
Well, because I live across the way and they would notify me.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that would be my, that's why I said as a private citizen.
Great response. Is there any unfinished business?
we are putting together, starting to get mobilized on the comprehensive plan, but that will come to you later for review in a few meetings.
What do you mean by mobilize? Are you
We're
gonna?
trying to come up with the wording to come up with an RFP and what we want in it, that it would go through you guys and to the council for funding. And that comes out of the borough transition funds, which I think we've received one check for 300,000, and then there's another year gets 200,000, and the third year gets 100,000.
And so the RFP will be the scope of work essentially? Which one
Yes.
we do? Okay.
And we're using, I'm getting together with Liz for the economic component and Glow for the harbor component, and the rest is pretty much a comp plan.
Have you gotten any names for a company, a good resource?
I advertised
everything
a couple
together?
years ago, and I have all those on file. But just starting to come up with some language.
What's your budget, do you figure?
I think last time I was looking at $55,000, and that was just for the old city limits. Probably quite a bit more than that, though. We can do all our own mapping this time, so that's going to be very helpful.
What are they gonna? How are they gonna handle the borough areas outside the boundary? Are they going to identify them, or are they gonna project optimum use for those lands? Or
Well, we've met with the city manager, and one time we brainstormed, I think you were there, and it was like, well, we should look at potential landing sites for docks and things throughout the whole borough. And, you know, some existing, some proposed. We'd probably look at future city services. I was thinking even unglamorous things like a landfill site. A landfill going to last so long. It is one of the prettiest views in town, but there it is. So infrastructure, and then it goes out probably all city departments for department input, and all the boards and commissions, and then public meetings and focus groups, and try to come up with a vision that where we'll be in 10, 20, 30 years.
And you're anticipating this being a year plus type of project?
I'm hoping to do all the public hearings in the fall, winter.
This fall,
Spring.
winter?
That's the goal.
So that means we'd have a consultant on board by this fall.
We probably advertise in the fall, and get started.
Because
in
we
late fall.
wouldn't we want to have the consultant here for the public hearings?
I would think it would be a good idea.
Or at least, I mean, at least they should be able to listen. You know, we could put you up there with a target on it, and you could take
Well,
all the questions. And,
It's really nice to have a consultant, because then you're explaining your view to someone who's from out of town, and you have to take the time to formulate what you want to say, and that's how we did it last time, and I thought it was a good way to go.
I just got, when you said the city landfill, are you referring to the now being a borough one, or is there going to be a separate landfill for the borough? Because when you said,
It would be the borough landfill,
Okay, it
but
just-
I'm thinking in the future, at some point, that land's going to be full.
correct, okay, I just want to make sure if it was like section area, and then we'd had to do a separate one for the borough. Okay, just
Nope.
clarifying.
I would point out that as far as landfills go, the University of Washington Horticulture Center and New Rec Center are places where, when I was a little kid, we used to go and dump garbage, and they reclaimed all that land. The same thing could be done here.
Well, the original landfill is where the whale viewing park is, so I guess they do move around.
I collect beach glass there, much sought after by artists in the lower 48. Okay, new business. 9A. There's been a recommendation to proceed with an application to acquire parcel 8B at Papke's Landing from the Mental Health Trust, and to explore parcel 8A with the goal of recommending for acquisition by the Land Selection Committee. Discussion, comments, look at the map.
I'll make a motion that we just do it. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I mean, do we need a motion to put it on the table?
Yeah.
To talk about it?
Let's separate them though, but 8A and 8B.
Okay.
Well, then we need a motion to discuss it, then, don't we? Or do we?
I think we can discuss it. You want to make two motions? We can make
Sure.
two separate motions.
Okay, I'll make a motion to talk about track, which one do you want to talk about first?
You're
I
making a
don't-
motion.
Yeah, okay, let's, track D.
A?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because that would, but wouldn't that be under, we'd have to give that to the land selection committee?
8A?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's.
Are we to give recommendations?
Well, I think, sorry, I think we can, I think that with 8B, because we would recommend to the council, because there's a $500 filing fee, recommend to the council that they proceed with a permit, to apply for a permit to acquire the land from Mental Health Trust. But on 8A, it is presently owned by DNR, so we can select it as part of the land selection. And now, how does that work? I know some of these communities, they've gone and selected some land for, one period of time and then gone and selected more land. I mean, even the state of Alaska has selected.
Why Susan's here. It's a very involved process. And what was the city we talked to where they've been
Talked to Wrangell,
well, before that it was, they've been
talked to
selecting.
Kenai Peninsula.
Kenai's been selecting land for 35 years. Wasn't that the term? Or?
Yeah, maybe 4 years. Long time. And they're still waiting through the process, but they're getting close to finalizing.
Well, in your recommendation, would this be a good idea to split them up and then we can move ahead with the mental health? It sounds like that may move faster, a little faster.
Did we have a vote on that?
No, we don't have a
It's just
vote
on
yet.
the floor.
We're just,
I have one question. Going back, I thought earlier on the mental health trust, there was going to be an inquiry about trading it with the state getting it. We could acquire it by doing the state doing a
I
trade.
wouldn't mind. That's why I put acquiring, because I wouldn't mind floating a trade out there. It's a very involved process, but
That's what I would prefer doing instead of, because if you acquire it for mental health, you're going to have to purchase it.
can I
Or
ask if
do
anybody
trade.
seconded the motion?
I'll second it.
okay, motion's been
And
presented and seconded to.
we're talking about B, the
8B.
mental health one,
8B.
8B.
And
Now-
we'll just separate the two. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
This may not
Okay, we
require
voted.
council action. It's within my spending authority, but I'll ask
We
Steve
voted
how
on
he wants to
purchasing it at this
No,
point?
we've just
to
voted
trade.
to
Just to discuss it.
separate
No.
the
start the
two
process.
and start the
Could we go
process.
back a step? I understood that it was very difficult to engineer this kind of a trade where you get the state to trade some land with mental health and do a three-way
I was
trade.
thinking we could trade borough land with mental health if we found a parcel that they desired more than. We have time.
Yeah,
I think it'd be
Yeah.
something that if it turns out to be too burdensome, well, then we'd go with purchase.
Well, now, I understood that the alternative way was the way Hollis did it, where they selected the land and then went to the and then had it appraised and went to the legislature for the money, which apparently was forthcoming quite easily. And that was the process that mental health preferred.
See, that's the way I'd prefer going.
I will investigate that too. It also might come that if the state wants us to take possession of the Pepke's Landing dock and boat launch area, and as a condition, we're going to need a parking area, and there's a number of ways to proceed. I just didn't want
Right.
to limit it just to outright purchase.
See, I would hit those avenues too, because I know with mental health, when they were doing the land swap with the Petersburg Creek, there was land right next to me in not even part of that, lots. And a few of us just wrote letters to get them on, and it was just private letters, and they did it quite easily.
Is that dealing with the Forest Service?
No, it was dealing with mental health.
Oh, with mental health, okay.
Yeah, they took it out of that land swap and offered it to just people that were right next to it. It was just a simple letter.
Maybe what I'd suggest is that Leo contact mental health and kind of pick their brain and see if they have any ideas.
Susan's
I think
been
that
in
Susan.
contact.
the point of this whole thing is that we need to apply for acquiring this, and then
Okay.
with a $500 fee, then Katie McCurney at Mental Health Trust will be able to engage with us
Oh, okay.
in research and development of this idea and exploration of ways that we can acquire. Right now, without in, getting involved with her without this $500, her hands are tied. She can't do anything for us, so.
This is going to the harbor board tomorrow. Normally I take it to them first, but with the timing of things, I assume the harbor board will support this too. And then you will contact the city manager to see where the $500 comes from.
Excuse me, on the $500 fee, is it-
Application fee.
application fee, is it a one-time fee? Let's say you, instead of doing a land swap or whatever, and you want to do a different avenue because the one doesn't work, you have
It's
to do it.
just an application fee, Donna.
Just one
Yeah,
time.
it's just to be able to, so she can start to work on options.
Yeah, because sometimes when you change the
That's
title
all
of
it
it,
is,
they
just an
change it. Okay,
application fee.
got it.
So basically, you just want a motion from us to say spend $500 to,
I don't need a motion from you to
Right.
spend the money. I just
Yeah.
want a
Just to
motion that you
acquire.
support
okay.
trying to acquire this
Okay.
land.
So the original motion is fine.
Yes, I
Right.
would think so.
I think 8B is more of a long-term thing. 8A is immediate. That's something that we need to deal with today and tomorrow, but
So we need to motion to go ahead and
I
go
think
forward?
we've got a motion.
We got a motion on the table.
And
All we
so,
have to do is vote on it.
All right.
What was
The boat ramp. Forest Service?
No, who owns the
I
boat
think it
ramp?
went back to DNR.
Yeah, DNR owns the old concrete launching ramp. I think that's DNR.
Yeah,
Because the Forest Service had a lease and then it returned to DNR after their lease went.
So we're excluding 8A from this motion. And just,
You
so
want
there's,
Karen to read the motion
yeah,
again?
you want to read the, if not, I'll help you with the wordsmithing a little bit.
I just took the second part out, recommendation to proceed with an application to acquire parcel 8B at Capkey's Landing from the Mental Health Trust.
All right, and so we're leaving out with the goal of recommending the acquisition by the Land Selection Committee. That part is no longer,
That would be for the next parcel.
okay, that's for the next parcel. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We have a recommendation to proceed with the application to acquire parcel 8B at Pathke's Landing from the Mental Health Trust. So now we go on to 8A.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we acquire parcel 8A.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to acquire parcel 8A.
And would this be to recommend that the Land Selection Committee select this parcel?
However, they need to, whatever needs to happen to
I,
get it
that's,
acquired.
I would put it, I would ask the Land Selection Committee to put this in their
Okay.
Yeah,
list.
I've got something else here, and I think in the short term, we might want to consider doing some kind of a operating agreement with DNR for that piece of property.
A subleasing?
Well, no, just management, operating it. And the reason I say that is looking at the history, because I've got a cabin down there, so I'm going back and forth all the time. Used to be a total mess down there. There were cars that didn't move for 10 years. I hope none of them rears.
no, I don't
And-
park, I don't even park there, I walk up the hill. So
Yeah.
I bought property up there in 1996 because I saw the mess happening there. There's some cars that haven't moved there for about 6 or 7 years now since
Well,
the last
I
time.
think it was 4 years
Yeah.
Oh,
ago
your packet.
that Don Koenigs went in on behalf of the Mental Health Trust
I know what we're talking
and
about.
cleaned things up. And things were a lot better. And then he quit doing that. And then, so things got worse again. And then last year, somebody from DOT went down there and marked out with yellow paint, marked out parking places and where you could park a truck and a trailer and that kind of stuff. And that helped it quite a bit. But I think we need to take an active role out there. And one more thing I need to say is that the council's under the impression that this is just for the people that live at Papke's and live down the Narrows. And that's not the case, because there are a lot of us, like myself, that live in town, and there are a lot of people that live in town, want to fish at the south end of the Narrows, so they go launch their boat out there. and operate from there rather than operate from the harbor of town.
And historically, it's been a place where people from town drive their vehicles out there and abandon them, and there's about 3 of them out there that do not belong to anybody that lives in that area, that have just been abandoned there for a couple of years now.
So do we want to amend this motion in any way?
I haven't heard the motion.
Okay, would you like to read the motion?
I have recommendation to the Land Selection Committee to proceed with the acquisition of parcel 8A.
I was going to make a comment on your thing there, how we got around that on Scow Bay with the transition thing there, because they were talking about, because we had problems with vehicles, so I finally contacted the state and made a recommendation for them to give us these little permits, okay? And because there's people who wanted there to file egressive rights to park there because of using it. And so to prevent the problem and being able to clean the thing up, we were given permits that were I think, a 30-day notice and stuff like that. And so at the same time, when it was going through the transition to the city, they was able to clean it up, and it transitioned very easy. And so people had to have those permits. And it really did help clean it up. And it didn't cost anything for the people.
Dave?
I don't know if this is an appropriate time, but it seems the issue, and I know that Don is an issue, and I have an issue with it, is it's very difficult to get a vehicle removed in town, whether it's out of Papke's or whether you have private property across from the ferry train. It's impossible.
That's why they did the permits.
I understand, but I don't know if this is the, if this is the right board.
I don't think it is.
It's
Maybe
not-
that's
I
a
think
new
it'd be a
business.
That'd be new business,
Public
but-
Safety Board or
Okay.
action by the council, but
Okay, but, yeah, but, I mean, that's been the problem, that's the problem that Don had out there, was, it was a real procedure to, and then who's gonna pay? Because, you got a lot of those vehicles that are abandoned out there, you can't even tow them, it's more like you gotta go out there with a backhoe
An
or
excavator.
an excavator. I mean, the ideal thing to do
Dig a
would just
hole
bring
right there.
would bring the
Once they
recycle
did
barge
Scow
up
Bay,
there to the
once they
ramp,
did the permits, they
and just
give
so
them
everybody
notice,
that's
and then they put 'em out there
everybody
and
that's
build 'em.
parked there on this
They were
day, you're gonna get recycled.
Recycled boxes.
But that was the issue that was difficult. I mean, I've contacted the trooper and asked him to ticket vehicles out there, and he doesn't want to go there, and I understand why. But I mean, it's a perennial problem.
So if anybody's
That's-
listening on the radio today and you have a car parked out at Papke's
Right.
Landing,
Yeah.
That's why they did
Notice
the
this is
permits there, and they were
discussion.
able to put a sign up if you didn't remove them in a certain period of time. They put them on backhoe and got them out of there. But when they didn't have the permits, they couldn't remove them. It was such a hassle.
And who did this? DOT?
We did. I did it through the state because we wanted the junk ones out, and that was the only way we could get around it. Was only permitted vehicles could be there. More than 3 days, I think it was, and they gave us 30-day ones, which were retroactive. I mean, had it for 10 years. But that was the only way they could get them ticketed, and then a notice was put up if you didn't remove it. And so now the vehicle has to be moved, I think, under the borough every week. It's not been moved a week, that means it's long-term. They ticket it, it can be out of there in 30 days. It's the way they got around it.
well, that will be another discussion possibly
Yeah.
for another committee about the vehicles. So,
Could I add an amendment
oh,
to
yes.
this? That we,
Ready, Karen?
I'd like to amend this motion that we, in addition, go through, adopt a process to deal with the cars like that, or make a recommendation to Public Safety Board that they adopt a process.
I could look into how they did it at Scow Bay. I know that worked. It wasn't this board that was involved, but they, I think it was a condition of the acquisition of the area that they didn't want it with a bunch of junk on it. And we had to do a bunch of things to prove that the land wasn't contaminated and other things, so
The
I will
permits were
investigate that.
prior to that, because when What Do You Call It had it, we had a permit
that?
through him, and the state was gonna chain us off, and so
Really?
they wanted
Oh,
to
yeah.
step out, so I
Oh, that's right.
recommended a permit. And that was way before the city wanted to do it, and we did have a permit that was revolved around. And so it was the only way the cars could be ticketed is if they didn't have a permit and then noticed and pulled.
I will check with Glow and also Liz over at PEDC.
There's a lot of activity down there now, not only people going to stroll the south end of the Narrows. You got those lodges down there, and there's a
Oh, yeah.
tremendous amount of activity there, like when they back their AML van down the ramp and leave it there for 3 hours so you can't launch your boat.
Well, can you launch a boat there now with the low tide?
Yeah, I just
Not
pulled
at
one up this
low
morning.
tide.
Last time I was down there, it was a 4-foot drop at the end of the ramp.
Yeah, zero tide line is the kind of
The one on the right side is, somebody put some rock in there, it's quite a bit better. In fact, I think they took up a collection to
yeah.
down there to put in rock.
Okay, so I think we have a motion on the floor for parcel 8 to explore the land acquisition committee acquiring parcel 8A at Papke's Landing, amended to make a recommendation to deal with the vehicles and other metal materials at
Yes,
Papke's.
recommendation to the appropriate committee, but I didn't get a second.
Second.
Yeah, all in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously with an extra recommendation.
That's all we need.
Great,
Well, so far.
so far.
At
Board
least it
dis-
starts the process.
It
of-
starts
And then
the
could I
process.
make a, could I ask a question? The harbor board meets tomorrow on the dock and the other couple of places. If they decide that they don't want to recommend that the borough work with DOT to get that dock under our clause, is we still want this track AV?
This is separate. Harbor doesn't want to have anything to do with this parking.
I didn't
I've asked
understand it
Lowell.
included the dock because the city's, or the borough's position, and before that, the city has always been, we will consider owning that dock, but it's gotta be brought up to full specs.
But with or without the dock, we want to get AA.
Yeah.
We want to
Is that
deal with
agreeable?
parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8A and 8B.
Yeah, because I think they're separate entities. Because even without the dock, it's very similar to acquiring Scow Bay. You know, it's still, like all of us there, have our own outhaul system, and launching a boat's worse at Scow Bay than here, and so,
I mean, the ramp has utility and it's
Right.
of its own, even if the dock goes away, which could
Correct.
happen anymore.
Very good.
right.
Okay. Any other board discussion items?
One quick comment is I just read that the city finally acquired the Scow Bay Tidelands as of,
Great.
I think I found that out yesterday, so these processes take a long time, but they eventually can pay off.
20 years.
20 years. Okay, any other items for discussion, questions? All right, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Need a motion.
Oh, we need a motion to adjourn, sorry.
Move we adjourn.
If I can
I
find
second.
that letter from the DOT.
All in favor?
How
Aye.
we wrote it up, because we sat down
Opposed?
for a while trying to
The
figure out how to
meeting
get
is
around
now
it.
adjourned. Thanks,
Mind
Karen.
Legally.
signing those, they were approved these earlier.
I guess one thing I just thought of, what about the next meeting? Is that going to be in the middle of the day? Or
That is a good question. Do you like it in the middle of the day?
not particularly?
Not particularly.
Depends upon what you're doing. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm gone so much. It's,
Karen, you know when our
Not when
next
the sun
schedule